Hi, I'm Andy, a writing tutor at the San Jose State University Writing Center, and today we're going to be going over a workshop on crafting compelling introductions. Introductions are a complex and challenging part of writing any paper, and I hope I can help you write them better. First, in your notes, or however you're following along with this video, what is an introduction? What does it do? Think of your own definition and maybe write it down. An introduction provides an entry point into your paper. It transports the reader from their world into the world of what you're talking about. Thus, an entry point. It should also be a preview for what's to come in the paper, thereby setting up audience expectations for what they'll read throughout the rest of it. It also helps your reader get engaged with the paper by providing a problem that'll be solved, or a question that'll be answered, or even an argument that you'll be making, depending on the type of paper. In short, it generates questions that will be answered by reading the paper. So before you start even writing your introduction, when do you want to even write it? You can write it before you write the rest of the paper or after you've done every single body paragraph. Depending on the paper, it can be easier to flesh out your entire paper, all your body paragraphs and everything before you even start on your introduction. And in other papers, you outline everything, start with the introduction. Either way works. If you write your introduction first, it can help you organize the rest of your thoughts that become your body paragraphs. And if you do it after, you'll already have your thoughts organized so that you can write a good introduction that introduces these thoughts. Next, what's the focus of the paper and what's the best way to communicate said focus? Because your introduction is the very first part of the paper that people will read, it's important to be clear about what the main idea of the paper is. Last, what is your hook? Think about the very best way to introduce the reader to your paper or your topic. Are you discussing a small aspect of a larger problem? What does the reader need to know in order to understand your paper? How do your ideas or topic relate to the world at large or a larger field of study? Think about it. Let's discuss things that you need to do in an introduction. First, you need to provide background information on your topic. This provides context and helps you establish that entry point that we discussed earlier. For example, you could talk about other papers connected to your topic, you could introduce your paper's connection to the real world, you could present all the main ideas that will appear in the paper, and you can surround your idea with context. For example, if you're writing a paper on the Bill of Rights, you might want to add context about the Constitution and maybe the societal factors that led to the Bill of Rights being written. Next, you want to organize the introduction based on your paper. Match that structure. If you're planning to write your body paragraphs in a certain order, your introduction should be parallel to that same order. You want to explain the structure of your writing and your approach, like why are you writing this paper? What question are you trying to answer? You want to explain your intent and your content. What's the significance of your paper? What's the context of your research? And last, at the end of your introduction, you should state your claim, which is your thesis statement. Based off of presenting your background information and providing an organized structure for your introduction, we have a visual for you, the inverted pyramid. At the base of the pyramid, which is the top, the beginning of your introduction, you want to provide background information and broad context. As you continue through the introduction, you narrow down. In the middle, you present the objectives of your paper, the research questions, as well as your paper's significance. And at the very end, you have the point of your pyramid, the most specific thing, which is the claim that you're making or your thesis. You're going from broad things to specific things. Think of it that way. Just about every introduction should have a structure akin to this one, starting with broadness, ending with specificity. Let's go over an example introductory paragraph. All right, I'll read it out loud. For centuries, risk analysts have studied risk as a problem in statistics and the rational uses of probability theory. But risk communicators have discovered that ordinary people think about risk in ways that seem unrelated to statistically based probabilities. Until we understand how non-experts think about risk, an important aspect of human cognition will remain a puzzle. It appears that non-experts judge risk by visualizing worst-case scenarios, then assessing how frightening the image is. So why does this introduction work? Let's go over it. It provides context in the very beginning, for centuries, talking about the study of risk analysis. It then introduces a question about how there's a difference between risk communicators and ordinary people. It then explains why this is significant because we need to understand how non-experts think about risk. It then adds significance to this topic by showing that, yes, we should understand how ordinary people understand risk. It's part of human cognition. Last, it makes a claim saying it appears that non-experts judge risk by visualizing worst-case scenarios, then assessing how frightening the image is. This is the claim that the paper will then back up, saying why this is true. Here's the evidence throughout the body paragraphs. Let's go over a topic sentence. Researchers do not understand how ordinary people think about risk. Is this topic sentence vague or informative? If you've been taking notes, write what you think. If you're in class and your professor's showing this in your class, put a V in the chat if you think it's vague, put an I in the chat if you think it's informative, or raise hands, whatever. Vote. That example we just went over, it's vague. Here's why. Vague sentences can do both too much and too little. What questions can you ask to make the sentence more specific? Now let's compare the vague sentence to a more developed introduction. How is the developed introduction more concrete? You'll find that developed introduction in your handout, and we'll go over it on the next slide. Here's a focused and informative introduction based off of that vague topic sentence. We all take risks every day. When we cross the street or eat high-fat food, even when we take a bath. The study of risk began with games of chance, so it has long been treated mathematically. By the 20th century, researchers used mathematical tools to study risk in many areas: investments, commercial products, even war. As a result, most researchers think that risk is a statistically quantifiable problem and that decisions about it should be rationally based. Here's the original topic sentence again. Researchers do not understand how ordinary people think about risk. This full introductory paragraph, on the other hand, addresses the exact same topic, but the informative introduction is a much easier entry point because it gives so much more context. For example, it talks about examples of risks that we take every day. That's a pretty strong hook, makes it relatable to the reader. It provides the background for the study of risk, shows applications of the study of risk, and makes a claim that most researchers think that risk is quantifiable. It is focused and informative, not vague. All right, we have an activity. We'll use an outline to create an introduction. Use the outline in your handout to write an introductory paragraph. Try to incorporate the things we've talked about so far in this workshop, like the inverted pyramid. Remember going broad to specific, background information to objectives to the thesis, as well as remember context, question, significance, claim. Keep these in your mind as you're going over the handout. Just pause the video and use this information on your screen as a reference to craft an introduction. The paper title and topic are using electric mineral accretion to restore Hawaii's Molokini Shoal. So take some time, turn this into an introduction, and it should take you anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes. Pause the video, and whenever you're done, hit play and we'll move on. All right, if you're done writing an introduction in whatever medium you're doing this workshop, if you're in class, put it in the chat. If you are on YouTube, put it in the comments. In addition, let's have a few discussion points. What was your process for crafting that introduction? Did you write the paragraph in order from broad to specific in the exact order of the inverted pyramid? Or did you, for example, write it backwards, start with the claim first and then add sentences before it? You put your thesis, that's still at the end of the paragraph, but then you write the preceding information. Sometimes it does help to write backwards, just as I recommended earlier that sometimes if you write your body paragraphs first, the introduction can then be easier to write when your thoughts are already well structured and well understood. But here is a writing center provided sample paragraph based off of that outline. The effects of climate change on the world's oceans, caused by fossil fuels like coal and gas, reach much further than rising sea levels and severe weather. As increasing carbon dioxide levels raise temperatures, sea surface temperatures also rise and cause coral bleaching, dissolving existing corals and inhibiting their growth. Hawaii's Molokini Reef is a prime example. 30% of the living reef has experienced bleaching, resulting in significant loss of biodiversity. In order to combat this, scientists hope to install 20 metal biorock structures in Molokini Reef. By encouraging mineral accretion and reducing the acidity of the surrounding water, the biorock will create an environment where new coral can grow and thrive. Let's break it down now. This first sentence is all about the context, talking about the effects of climate change on the world's oceans. Then it adds a bit more background by talking specifically about the effects of sea surface temperatures rising, coral bleaching, and the destruction of coral reefs. Next, it's placing significance in this issue to specifically Hawaii's Molokini Reef, talking about how it specifically has had 30% bleaching, with a significant loss of biodiversity. Then, the main claim of this paper is that they're hoping to combat this by installing 20 biorock structures, and then with mineral accretion, they expect this certain result. The paper will then go over the evidence to back up this claim. This is just one possibility for how you could write this paper. You might think of different details or entirely different approaches that still follow a really good inverted pyramid structure, going from broad to specific. You don't necessarily need to use the exact same details as long as you have a good approach that introduces the broad issue and then narrows it down to your specific significant problem, as well as the claim you're making for how to fix it, at least in this type of paper. But I will restate, this is just one way you could have written this introduction. There are probably an infinite number of ways you can still approach this introduction while using a solid inverted pyramid and your own original ideas. All right, let's do a quick recap on this workshop. Introductions are important because they establish the premise of the paper and set expectations. If you don't have an introduction that sets clear expectations, and you have a whole lot of things coming out of left field in your body paragraphs, that may confuse your readers. A good introduction is absolutely essential to writing a great paper. And you can make a good or great introduction using the following elements: provide context, ask a question, establish significance, and make a claim or your thesis statement. I hope this workshop on introductions was helpful for you. If you have any further questions on writing or introductions in general, you can book an appointment with the Writing Center. In addition, we have a whole lot more workshops that you can access via the first link right here. If you want to book an appointment with us, click on sjsu.edu/writing center and go through that process, and you'll be able to book an appointment with a tutor like me. Last, if you have any questions for the Writing Center, feel free to email us at writingcenter@sjsu.edu. Thank you again for watching this workshop, and I hope we've improved your introduction skills.